Welcome to the unit on professional orientation and ethical practice, Part 1. In this unit, we will discuss philosophical foundations of rehabilitation, legislation or laws affecting individuals with disabilities, organizational structure of rehabilitation counseling practice settings, societal issues, trends, and developments, diversity and multicultural counseling issues, techniques for working with individuals with limited English proficiency, theories and techniques of clinical supervision, clinical problem solving and critical thinking skills, internet-based counseling tools and resources, risk management and professional ethical standards, ethical decision-making models and processes. Let's begin by discussing the philosophical foundations of rehabilitation. Throughout history, perceptions of disability have varied between cultures. Some were attributed to sin and evil. Others were a result of accident or illness. Over time, societies recognized that people with disabilities could contribute positively to their communities. The Industrial Revolution shifted attitudes toward disability for several reasons. Urban population density created awareness that there were many kinds of people. Major religions shared a tradition of helping people in need, including those with disabilities. As coworkers witnessed accidents that resulted in disability, there was a societal call for industry employers to assist people whose earning capacity was compromised. Governments legislated compensation for people with disabilities, particularly those who had acquired them in service to their communities or countries, such as firemen, police, and soldiers. In this section, we will review the major legislative acts that affect people with disabilities. A list of legislation follows: Smith-Hughes Act of 1917, Soldiers' Rehabilitation Act of 1918, Smith-Fess Act, or the Vocational Rehabilitation Act of 1920, Social Security Act of 1935, Randolph-Shepard Act, 1936, Wagner-O'Day Act of 1938, Javits-Wagner-O'Day Act of 1971, Barden-La Follette Act, or the Vocational Rehabilitation Act of 1943, Rehabilitation Act of 1973, Americans with Disabilities Act, Workforce Investment Act, Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. A more extensive timeline of rehabilitation and related U.S. legislation is available in the additional resources for this module. The Smith-Hughes Act of 1917 provided education and vocational technical training to displaced workers. This legislation is why rehabilitation counseling subsequently became associated with colleges of education in the USA. The Soldiers' Rehabilitation Act of 1918 helped to develop a priority of service to those who were injured in the line of duty during World War I. The Smith-Fess Act of 1920, or the Vocational Rehabilitation Act, expanded services to persons with other types of disabilities. Congress provided funding that could be used for vocational guidance, training, occupational adjustment services, and job placement. The Social Security Act of 1935 provided benefits for people with specific disabling conditions, such as black lung disease. Benefits were available to children and spouses of workers who were disabled and unable to work. Vocational rehabilitation was made a permanent federal program. The Randolph-Shepard Act of 1936 provided a priority to service contracts for persons who were blind to operate vending stands on federal property. It also authorized a study to determine types of work individuals with visual disabilities could perform. The Wagner-O'Day Act of 1938 helped sheltered workshops compete for federal contracts by giving them the first opportunity to bid on the contracts. This act is still current as it operates similarly today to how it has in the past. Later, the Javits-Wagner-O'Day Act of 1971 extended purchase authority to workshops for people with severe disabilities in addition to blindness. The Bardeen-La Follette Act of 1943, the Vocational Rehabilitation Act, expanded eligibility for vocational rehabilitation services to people with intellectual and psychiatric disabilities. It also expanded the types of physical restoration services that could be provided to individuals with disabilities, and expanded vocational rehabilitation services for the blind. One of the most significant contributions to the disability movement occurred with the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. This act made serving individuals with severe disabilities the priority of vocational rehabilitation. The key elements of the Rehabilitation Act include enabled order of selection, determined a consumer must have a diagnosed disability, a substantial handicap to employment, and a reasonable expectation of benefit in terms of employability. Included service provisions to help rehabilitate an individual with the goal of gainful employment. Stressed consumer involvement in the development and approval of their Individualized Written Rehabilitation Program, IWRP. Included closure as the ideal goal of the rehabilitation process. Stressed program evaluation, and supported rehabilitation research. Title V is the section of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973 that advanced civil rights for people with disabilities. Section 501 required non-discrimination in hiring, recruiting, and promoting people with disabilities in the federal government. Section 502 established the Architectural and Transportation Barriers and Compliance Board to oversee compliance to the Architectural Barriers Act of 1968 and helped to develop minimal accessibility standards. Section 503 prohibited discrimination in employment by any federal contractor or subcontractor. A written affirmative action plan was required for all employers contracting with the government and having 50 or more employees, or a federal contract of $50,000 or more. Section 504 prohibits discrimination against qualified people with disabilities in any federally supported program or activity, including any organization receiving federal funds such as hospitals, school districts, state public welfare offices, and colleges and universities. It also defined reasonable accommodations as those things that can help a person participate without fundamentally changing the program. Section 508 of the 1986 amendment ensured access to computers and other electronic office equipment in places of federal employment. It also provided for rehabilitation engineering centers and rehabilitation engineering services for VR clients. The Americans with Disabilities Act is considered civil rights legislation for people with disabilities. The Americans with Disabilities Act, or ADA, was passed in 1990 and is undoubtedly the most significant disability-related legislation to date. This act provides a comprehensive national mandate for the elimination of discrimination against people with disabilities and provides enforceable standards to address discrimination. The 2008 amendment to the ADA provided a three-pronged definition of disability. A person is regarded as having a disability if there is a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits a major life activity. There is a record of a physical or mental impairment that substantially limited a major life activity, and an individual is regarded as having a disability by others. For example, an employer takes an action prohibited by the ADA based on an actual or perceived impairment. For more information regarding the ADA, check the additional resources for this module. The ADA is divided into 5 sections called titles. Each title addresses non-discrimination in a specific area and includes employment, public entities, public accommodations, telecommunication, and miscellaneous. Each section is monitored by a specific government agency that assisted in creating the definitions used. The 5 titles of the ADA are Title I, Employment; Title II, Public Entities, State and Local Governments; Title III, Public Accommodations; Title IV, Telecommunications; and Title V, Miscellaneous Provisions. Title I, Employment. This title prohibits employment discrimination against qualified individuals with disabilities in the public sector and government at all levels. A qualified person with a disability is one who can, with or without reasonable accommodation, perform the essential functions of the job. Employers with 15 or more workers are included in this title. In addition to banning discrimination, it requires reasonable accommodations are made in recruiting, hiring, employing, and promoting individuals with disabilities. Accommodations are required unless the employer undergoes undue hardship, which is usually defined as a significant expense. Title II, Public Entities, State and Local Governments. Prohibits discrimination on the basis of disability in state and local government services. No qualified individual with a disability may be excluded by reason of disability from participation in or denied the benefits of services, activities, or programs of a public entity. Access standards for individuals with disabilities must be consistent with the minimum standards established by the Architectural and Transportation Barriers Compliance Board. The title focuses on public transportation by bus, rail, taxi, and limousine. Air travel was covered by the Air Carriers Access Act. If a public entity runs more than solely a commuter bus service, it must provide services to individuals with disabilities unless an undue hardship would result. All new public transportation facilities must be made reasonably accessible. Commuter rail service must have at least one accessible car. Title III, Public Accommodations. Prohibits discrimination based on disability in goods, services, facilities, privileges, or advantages in any place of public accommodation or in services operated by private entities. Made it discriminatory to fail to remove architectural and communication barriers in established facilities if removal is readily achievable. New construction and modifications need to be accessible. Title IV, Telecommunications. Requires telephone relay services to operate 24 hours a day for individuals with hearing and speech impairments. Rates charged must be consistent with voice communication. Title V, Miscellaneous Provisions. States that no individual can be discriminated against because of their role in an ADA complaint or investigation. Insurance carriers can allow for pre-existing conditions. The Workforce Investment Act, or WIA, of 1998 was intended to streamline workforce development services and was designed to benefit employers and potential employees. It combined more than 50 federal job training resources and programs, streamlined workforce development services, and created one-stop centers, and added people with disabilities as a targeted group for services. The Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, or WIOA, of 2014 replaced the Workforce Investment Act, WIA, and will be in effect from 2015 to 2020. The purpose of WIOA is to better align the workforce system and education and economic development in an effort to create a collective response to economic labor market challenges on the national, state, and local levels. Requires states to strategically align workforce development programs, increases the state-federal vocational rehabilitation role in one-stop centers, fosters regional collaboration through alignment of workforce development programs to meet the needs of local and regional employers, improves services to employers and promotes work-based training, emphasizes youth transition services, provides for competitive integrated employment opportunities for people with disabilities prior to earning a sub-minimum wage, and improves services to individuals with disabilities through extensive pre-employment transition services and increases funding for these services. Next, we'll discuss how legislation-based federal requirements govern organizational structure in state vocational rehabilitation agencies. In state federal vocational rehabilitation, the terms federal requirements, Code of Federal Regulations, or CFR, and Federal Register are often referred to, especially in policy, training, and staff meetings. It is helpful to know what these are and how they relate to each other. Whereas the term federal requirements is used more generally to refer to federal laws and regulations, the terms Federal Register and Code of Federal Regulations, or CFR, may be defined as follows. The Federal Register is a daily or weekday publication by the National Archives and Records Administration, which contains, among other content, federal agency regulations, proposed rules and proposed rule changes, and public notices. The Code of Federal Regulations is the codification of the general and permanent rules published by the Federal Register by the departments and agencies of the federal government. The documents in the Federal Register include citations back to the CFR, U.S. Government Publishing Office. According to the National Archives, the CFR contains the complete and official text of agency regulations organized into 50 titles covering broad subject areas. The CFR is updated and published once a year in print, fiche, and online formats. The Technical Assistance Circular, released by the Office of Special Education and Rehabilitation Services in April of 2012, gives an overview of the intent of the VR federal requirements as follows. The federal requirements governing the organization of the VR program provide considerable flexibility to the states in recognition of the wide variety and complex nature of the programs and services within their purview, while establishing a framework in which VR services are delivered through an autonomous and distinct unit. The Rehabilitation Act incorporates the following organizational unit requirements into legislation. State VR or vocational rehabilitation plans must designate a state agency as the sole state agency to administer the plan. The agency must be either a state agency primarily concerned with VR and/or other rehabilitation services for individuals with disabilities, or a state agency that includes a VR bureau, division, or other organizational unit. Additionally, if the state agency contains a VR bureau, division, or other organizational unit, also called the Designated State Unit or DSU, it must be primarily concerned with vocational rehabilitation or VR, be administered by a full-time director, employ staff to do the rehabilitation work full-time for the organizational unit, and share the same organizational level and status as other major organizational units within the designated state agency. For example, under Wisconsin's Department of Workforce Development, the Vocational Rehabilitation Unit has the same stature as the Employment and Training Unit, the Equal Rights Unit, the Workers' Compensation Unit, and so on. For more information about the organizational structure of state VR agencies, see the additional resources for this module for the organizational structure and non-delegable responsibilities of the Designated State Unit for the Vocational Rehabilitation Program, Technical Assistance Circular, published by the Rehabilitation Services Administration, or RSA.